these are good books. I know beyond a shadow of a doubt, due to the consensus, the overwhelming consensus take is that they're good books, enjoyable books, meaningful books, thought-provoking books, universally loved books. I just hated them. I genuinely didn't like them.
And we're all Books No Brains. My name is Kyle.
I'm Chase.
And today we're going to be talking about books I loved, but Chase hated, and specifically the Stormlight Archives by Brandon Sanderson and The Sword of Kaigen by M.L. Wang.
It's probably an intellect thing. it's probably an intellectual shortcoming on my behalf, which I'm okay with. If I don't get a book, let's put it this way. If I don't like a book, I assume it's because I don't get it.
Yeah.
I think I get it if I really do, but I assume it's an enjoyable book and everybody is getting what they need out of it. And if it is a good book, universally, and I don't like it, that just means I'm missing something. Specifically with the Stormlight Archive, there's a lot to take in.
Yeah, massive series. So let's talk about Stormlight Archive first. So you got to Oathbringer and finished Oathbringer. But are no longer going to be continuing the series.
DNFing the series.
Ooh,
as a whole.
Forever and always.
I don't know, dude. If I read... So, if you're not familiar, there's 5 books so far in the Stormlight Archive, which I think he plans on writing 10. Mm-hmm. So in reality, he is 6,000 pages in, and he's only halfway done. Which that's an epic-ass universe. That's an epic series.
Yeah.
So I have finished the first 3. Well, this is how it went. Read book 1, The Way of Kings, loved it. Immediately on to book 2, Words of Radiance, loved it even more so. Mm-hmm. I was about 800 pages in to Oathbringer, and I'm like, nothing is sorry, my skepticism started creeping in around 600 pages in. I'm reading Oathbringer, which is the 3rd book of the series, after 2 magnificent books. I'm reading Oathbringer, about 600 pages in, I'm like, God damn, nothing is happening. This shit is so slow. I forcefully read another 200 pages, which for some books is an entire book, 200 pages. Read another 200 pages, I'm like, all right, I need to take a break. I read 5 other books. I finished off the Dungeon Crawler series in the middle of Oathbringer. Came back to it, picked up where I left off, powered through the remaining 500-600 pages of Oathbringer. And I don't know if it's just because my heart wasn't in it, but the juice was simply not worth the squeeze.
Which is crazy because Oathbringer was, out of the entire series, my favorite book. So I don't know what, but it's been so long since I've read it. I'm not even entirely sure, what it was why I liked it, because I do think Words of Radiance is probably overall the best written, structured, paced book, but the ending for Oathbringer really did it for me.
Yeah.
I think that kind of was a little take the cake, and it just pushed it over the edge for me. But, which we've talked off camera about it, there's 20-something books in the Cosmere by Brandon Sanderson, and I found a list of this is the reading order you should read, and I read all
as
the books.
Prescribed by Brandon Sanderson. I've seen the list.
I read the books in order of the list, so I was catching all the subtle
references
maybe. To other things in the Cosmere that maybe while the book was slow, because I caught that little instance, kept me engaged.
Yeah.
So that's also a tough sell of, all right, read 14 other books before you get to this book, and then it'll be good. That's a hard sell to sell.
A reader could make an entire reading career out of Brandon Sanderson.
Yeah.
This man writes faster than me and a lot of people can even read. So it's a little bit absurd. But if you were to ask people, okay, I want to read some fantasy, specifically epic fantasy. These are the go-to, but these are quintessential, huge worlds, famous fantasy books and series. Stormlight Archive is just anybody who's knows anything about reading and is an avid reader is, if they haven't read it, they're at least familiar with Brandon Sanderson and familiar with the Stormlight Archive. So I'm thinking, I don't know what my expectations were, but I think part of my heart, part of the reason, that end, I am reading the end of Oathbringer, and I can tell that it's epic. I just didn't feel the epic. Yeah. I think my heart wasn't in it. He already lost me. It took too long to get there. Mm-hmm. So rather than being excited for the journey and enjoying the hell out of the process and where I'm at in the story and the characters unfolding and all of these plots sort of starting to overlap and intertwine, I was just reading to finish the book. And I do remember the epic ending. It was a big ending, and I was just like, okay, I'm glad that's over with. And I kind of feel bad because I didn't get to enjoy it because it took so goddamn long to get there. I'm not joking when I say Way of Kings could have been 300 pages shorter. Words of Radiance was pretty good. Oathbringer could have been it could have been 800 pages. So it could have been 600 pages total.
Yeah.
I'm not even joking. And I feel like he could have done that and it could have still delivered everything you needed it to deliver. But who am I? Yeah. He's obviously a gangster, Brandon Sanderson.
I agree. So a lot of the books, I feel like there is a way to possibly make them shorter. But then I also think of what he's doing with the books. He's got 10 different perspectives.
Yeah.
You know, not only is he telling a story with each character, he's building an entire world. The world is so unique that like it needs a lot of descriptive. He's got new races that have never existed in fantasy before that he's got to describe and like play into and like their culture and like there's a lot of things that need a lot of descriptions, which is off-putting for some people.
Yeah.
Not real ones, but some people.
For fake-ass readers like me. Dude, to get everything, I'm not joking, to get everything, because you'll have several chapters, and then in these books, you'll have what he calls interludes, and he will skip to a random person not involved in the story whatsoever. Yep. He'll skip to a random scene with a new character, new setting, new everything, and you'll read 2 or 3 chapters of each individual random scenes, and they won't come into play until later in the story, which it is interesting to get that backstory and see it all come together. But to get everything that this man is laying out would take multiple reads. 100% would take multiple reads. Who's going to read 6,000 pages multiple times?
Some people.
That's crazy.
I've seen videos of some of this. My 3rd Stormlight, read 4th Stormlight, and it's like, I don't know if I like Storm. Well, Stormlight did kind of prior to Wind and Truth coming out when we were at Rhythm of War. I was telling Chase, I was like, dude, Stormlight, it's better than Red Rising. I was like, it's because there's so much going on. It's so much more epic and grandiose. Like there's so much going on. It can't get better. And then I read Wind and Truth, and while I still thought it was a good book, I was on the same page of it. It literally could have been half the book. I didn't enjoy it, and it kind of knocked Stormlight down.
I mean, you see these fucking things up here. These are phone books.
Yeah.
These are phone books.
Massive. It's not a Brandon Sanderson thing for you because you like the first 2 and you loved Mistborn. So
correct.
It's not Brandon Sanderson as a writer.
Yes, correct. So Brandon Sanderson, obviously with every author, you're going to have pros and cons. He does some things incredibly well. I feel like I have lived on Roshar. Yeah. I feel like I've been there. I can imagine. He talks a lot about the land formations, the plant life, the animal life, the fashion. He goes into incredible detail. I feel like I've been on Roshar, which is where the Stormlight Archives take place. But the dialogue is really progresses the story, and you get to know the characters. The prose is completely lackluster, which I'm actually, the more that I think about it, I'm a fan of. Like, the opposite is Christopher Racchio, who writes the Sun Eater series, and he is good in a lot of ways, but for me, his strong suit was his prose. And you're reading something, I was reading Empire of Silence, I don't even like the book, and I can't put it down because his writing is so well. So they kind of are opposites in that sense for me, but it's too elaborate. And I'm a simple man, maybe, I don't know. I feel like there have been books that I've read who have been able to do more with less pages.
It's true.
Less word, more trick.
Yeah, that adds up. The 1 and the 2 make 3.
Yeah.
Which leads into the next book that you didn't like.
I've been spit upon and shit upon and shat upon and kicked upon for not liking this one. This one for me, this next book that Kyle's getting ready to do was, Kyle literally told me, dude, you have to read this next. I had a tear. He had a tear running down his cheek and leg. It was the first book that
made me actually tear up, and like I'd never experienced that before.
So I'm coming into this book with the highest expectations.
Yeah. So that is The Sword of Kaigen by M.L. Wang, which, what you just said about Stormlight, of authors doing more with less, for me, and especially with her newest book, Blood Over Brighthaven, it's a standalone book, and I was like, this book did more than most trilogies do in a standalone. And it's like really like up the scale of what can be done in fantasy. But same thing as The Sword of Kaigen. I think I gave it like a 4.5 or something. It wasn't quite a 5-star. I did have some gripes with it that were, it was, she like made her own time system. Like, so instead of saying seconds and minutes and hours, they were different words. Instead of saying she had different months, and it wasn't really well explained in the book, so I found myself constantly flipping to the appendix or glossary.
Which takes you out of it.
Which breaks the immersion of the book, and I didn't enjoy that part of it, which was the only thing I didn't like. But for me, the reason I loved the book so much was the relationship between the mom and the son. I feel like I could relate. Me and my mom had like a falling out when I was young, and then came back together. So I feel like emotionally, that touched me.
Okay.
And then I also thought the magic system was like Avatar-esque elements. You know.
Yeah. It was very Airbender. And,
yeah.
Yep.
And I thought that was cool. I'd obviously seen Avatar: The Last Airbender, but I've never read a book that kind of just had the elements like that, and it was cool.
Maybe that's why I didn't connect with it whatsoever. I still don't fucks with my mom. You feel me? So yeah.
Because I was really rooting on the redemption of like they got to figure it out.
What's her name? Misaki? Mm-hmm. Misaki is a bad bitch. She is one of the toughest characters. Like I was definitely reading Sword of Kaigen. Out of everything in that book, and it's probably been over a year since I read it, that is what stands out to me is Misaki's journey of being a badass, leaving everything behind to become a mother and focus on trying to live her life in a fulfilling way, and then come to find out now she's gonna have to whoop some ass some more
and do what's expected, because she was also it was like a very like feministic or anti-feministic culture,
misogynistic
culture where the women were doing the cooking, the cleaning.
They were there to be wives,
the womanly duties, nothing else, don't speak unless spoken to type vibes. And then she eventually fucking comes out and was like, nah, I was that bitch before I got here.
Yeah.
And lays it down.
Yeah.
Which was sick.
So I might read Sword of Kaigen again. I'm reading through it and I didn't connect with anything.
Yeah.
I remember reading through it and I know what you're talking about, the sort of, that's what I'm referring to with doing more with less. Changing up the time system to where it literally breaks the immersion of wait. Is he describing a week-long period, a month-long period, when you have no clue, so you're like out of it? Like you could literally just use real-life terms, which is obviously in a different universe, different world. They wouldn't be using the same measurements of time as us, but just do that for the reader's sake. So that is a perfect example of doing more with less. And I think that I just didn't connect with any of those characters.
Yeah, which I could see it too, because like the book was the family structure in the book relates heavily to what I had grown up as a kid. You know, falling out with my mom. Eventually, there's a little comeback there. My dad was like he was just all business, no play, and that's how his dad is in the book. And then, you know, obviously in my case, like it wasn't too late to fix the issues, but in this book, things just don't work out that way. But I just related to the familiar structure and the struggles that the character goes through with his parents. And I remember that I was just like, damn, that brought a tear to my eye. And it's dark, it's grim. Don't like if you don't like dark stuff happening, like that book is very descriptive and like some very fucked up things that happen. Yeah. I thought it was cool.
Yeah, that shit might have been too much for me. Now that I'm rethinking that was early on in my reading career.
Yeah, it was like second book. You read it right after Mistborn, right?
Yeah, it was early on. Yeah, I read Red Rising, Mistborn, and then I read that. Yeah, this book, I mean, it was pretty good, but I see what you're saying. The dad sucked, which my dad loved me right up until he died. He loved me, so I can't relate to that. But yeah, his dad was a unnecessary hard ass in that. Yeah. And to me though, the thing about, because his dad is not the villain, they're literally at war in this book, so the villain is the people who they don't understand, which that's a whole different dynamic in itself. Mm-hmm. But his dad is sort of the antagonist of, he sees him being unkind to his mom. He's all business, has no emotional connection with them. He has the highest expectations to learn their family legacy, war form, whatever. And to me, a good like sort of antagonist, you have to be able to relate to. You have to be able to see like, fuck, what they're doing is so fucked up, but it makes sense and I understand it. When somebody like his dad is Takeru, I think his name is, was just one-dimensional. He's just an asshole. And then his redemption towards the end, spoiler alert if you haven't read it, his redemption towards the end, he just kind of flipped script and is like, okay, good, you grew and learned, but that kind of seemed like it happened out of nowhere. You're one-dimensional, mean to everybody. Not mean to everybody, because he's like a mayor just almost. Standoffish, doesn't connect with his wife, puts no effort into connecting with his wife and having a happy family, and then just kind of flip script at the end and is, okay, I'm a good guy now.
His redemption was quick, but she was a new author too, which, you know, I didn't give it a 5-star. It wasn't a perfect book, but I did it did things to me that I had never experienced before.
Oh, wow. In the emotional heart
Yeah,
region
it's
or
in
in
the
the nether region?
In the emotional.
Oh, there was no nether region involvement.
No,
That's
no,
true.
no.
Which, cut to this latest book by M.L. Wang that I read called Blood Over Brighthaven. Oh, my God. Chef's kiss.
Yeah.
Literal chef's kiss. Okay, so I put a call to arms to read. I literally asked the romance reading community what romance book a non-romance reader should start with. And I'm getting books that, okay, this is a point I want to drive home. When you are going to go watch a romance movie, if you're like, oh, a new romance came out or a rom-com came out, you know what to expect. You expect a certain thing. When people use the term romance for a book, that is not what they're describing. They are not describing, they're describing what we would call in the movie equivalent of pornography.
Yeah.
It has sex scenes. It is heavily sex-based and descriptive, which I'm okay with.
He's a nasty bitch.
He is. It's true. I dirty dog. I don't mind the sex. I don't mind the descriptions. Whatever. We're all adults here, right? Mm-hmm. What caught me off guard was the description of literary romance as compared to like what I was expecting, like movie romance. Mm-hmm. And so when I was recommended some romance books, they're just sexy books, which is okay. I was just expecting relationships and tension and uncertainty and insecurities and then people finding connection through all of the things that they're dealing with as individuals. Not insertion, not graphic penetration. That's not what I was expecting. So, cut to Blood Over Brighthaven. This book, phenomenal. Literal, for me, I would say 10 out of 10 for a standalone book. Yep. What it did was had an incredible story discussing and covering themes that are incredibly relatable into this real world through an interesting magic system and characters and a female protagonist trying to overcome an incredibly traditional, orthodox, misogynistic society like a lot of women face today and have historically faced. So it's super fucking cool, but she's tough and smart and outspoken and does all the gritty things. And for men in power who see women like that, they're just incredibly disparaging and they're insecure and all the things. So she's going through this battle. The underlying of that entire thing is her connection with the supporting character, Domil, I think is his name, and her attraction to him, but he's in a lower class. She shouldn't be attracted to him, but it's like sprinkled and mentioned, and you're like, oh, the tension throughout the entire story is planted and built upon and deepened and strengthened. And then leading into the climax of the book, spoiler if you haven't read it, fast forward now, leading into the climax of the book, they finally kiss, they embrace each other, and I felt pure...
You had a love boner.
I had a fucking love boner. I was overcome by pure joy and genuine excitement. I may be a dog, but I don't need pure penetration to know there's love in the air. It was the kiss that did it for me, the embrace, and what it was is all this build up and build up and build up, and then people finally being true. That's the shit I fuck with. Yeah. That when I said romance, when I'm asking TikTok and Instagram for romance, this is the shit. The Blood Over Brighthaven, that's the reveal.
Which I don't know if I've even ever seen anybody call that romance, but when you made a video talking about, like, you pretty much said this in your own video, a lot of people in your comments were saying, like, oh, you want YA romance.
No,
that's real. That's an adult love shit. It's just more focused on the romance and not the sex. You guys are saying romance is sex, and my wife would say otherwise.
Exactly, Bob. And your wife would say otherwise too. If I counted romance as sex, I'm the most romantic person alive. You see what I'm saying? So romance is the romance. To me, romance is the building up. Yes, sex can become a part of it, but sex does not equal romance. Romance may or may not equal sex, yes. Sex does not equal romance. And
are we the guys coming into the book world fucking telling all the women they're wrong?
Telling you guys
we're done before we even get started.
We're going to be cooked. Listen, ladies, I know for a fact, based on your guys' comment, ladies and gentlemen, based on your comments, what romance is. I'm thinking the build-up, the tension, the strengthening and deepening of the relationship before acting upon those feelings becomes necessary. This book, not only Emma Wang, fucking my hat's off to you. Killed it, dude. Literally perfect when I say the build-up and tension, they finally are true to who they are and the way they feel for each other at the very end. right before shit hits the fan and the story climaxes and concludes. And it was not only set up perfectly, it was executed perfectly. I was fucking hooping and hollering is how happy I was. And then when I asked for romance, if you haven't read Blood Over Brighthaven, you need to read it. That's what I'm asking for.
I also gave it a perfect book. I was like, this is the best standalone novel I've ever read. It just had everything I wanted. The romance, the action, the cool magic, the cool world building, great character work. The social political themes were not forced. They felt a part of the story and a part of the world.
They were relatable and real, but not forced. Yes.
It was very good. Everything about it was good, and I was hooked from page 1 all the way to the end.
And then cut to our friends get me and Kyle romance books. This is not what do we have? The Morning Glory Milking Farm? Yes, I will read it. Is this what I'm looking for when I say romance? I don't think so. Yep. I don't think so. Yeah, I will read it.
We each got a copy of that at Friendsgiving, which I did think was funny because all our friends do know that we're heavy readers, and they're saying, this is the #1 romance book, the best-selling, most-selling romance book. And we read page 1. I was like, oh, this is a romance. This page 1 is already getting after it.
Yeah, it's going to romanticize all over my stomach and or lower your back depending on the position we're in.
It's a 200-page book that should take me probably one sitting to read, but I'm going to have to make multiple stops to the bathroom.
I'm going to get sensitive at the end of every chapter. Yeah, I actually will probably read that because it looks like a quick little read. Yeah. But tis not romance. Ladies and gentlemen, tis not romance.
What happened to, what did they call it back in the old days? What happened to the courting? Where's the courtsmanship at?
The courtsmanship, it's a game and we must play the game.
We're all 20th century people and we're just in and out quick and fast like, but come on.
Looking for the quick fix, there's got to be some build up intention that leads to the best romance for you fuckers out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that book was good.
So we're back to, it's not an M.L. Wang thing. It's not an author. You just don't like the works of the author. It was just the reading experience. And for M.L. Wang specifically in the Sword of Kaigen, the lack of being able to connect emotionally with what was going on in the story, which makes sense because it, like I said, I could relate it to my family structure where you couldn't really relate it as much.
And that makes perfect sense. I never heard your take like that, but that when you're vibing with the characters like that, dude, and you're seeing the analogous nature of their family structure to yours, that makes perfect sense. But yeah, Blood Over Brighthaven definitely gave me a new perspective on misogyny, and like it's like you can see like established just when she's describing their political structure, like old men in power and grumpy and unwilling to learn or change anything. It's like, yeah, we all see that shit, especially being a woman, dude. Fuck anybody, dude. And the crazy thing is, it's the same thing. Like I feel like historically a lot of like corporate women, once women just said, I'm not gonna just sit at home and raise kids. We raise kids together. You focus on your career. I'm gonna go focus on my career part of the time. That's only fair. And then like seeing like a gritty woman get after it, stand up for what she wants to do professionally, and it's like men in power hate that shit. I literally am just imagining grumpy old white men hate that shit, and it's like, bro, what are you so insecure for?
Like late 60s, early 70s, that's where I'm at.
Yeah.
Hair's already receded, not even receding, it's already receding.
Like, bro, shut up. She's just out here living her life, doing her thug thizzle. Yeah. But yeah, that book was good. Relatable to give me a new and expanded perspective on the struggles that women face and the obstacles women face. Yeah.
And that's what that book changed the way that I read and what I'm looking for when I read. Because I liked thinking about and comparing and relating what's going on into the book to how I feel and look at the world in real life. And I was like, yeah, this fantasy and books can do so much more than just be magic and dragons. And there can be more to the book. We can get more out of the book than just a little escape.
Yeah, I agree completely, wholeheartedly. There has to be things. And that leads into, quickly I'll go into this, but when I read Blood Over Brighthaven, and it lives in my head rent-free. I'm like, continue to think about it. I was thinking about what makes the things that make a historic, classic, great movie great, why people continue to come back to it and make YouTube videos analyzing single scenes and continue to talk about it, continue to compare new movies to it. What makes a great movie great is the same, very similar to what makes a great book great. And obviously only time will tell with what books stand up to the test of time and still be relatable and relevant in the future. But I think about, like, for me, it's Red Rising. It's like, it is page by page entertaining. As a reader, in the moment, it keeps you entertained. It keeps you guessing what's going to happen next. Pretty much the thing with Red Rising at the end of, and I actually noticed Dungeon Crawler does this too. The end of every chapter is a cliffhanger. And I'm like, fuck, dude, like I want to be done reading. I'm like falling asleep, but I have to keep reading.
Yep.
The end of every chapter is a mini cliffhanger, and it keeps you going. So it's page by page, entertaining and engaging. Then, long after the book has been finished and put away, there are themes, there are choices that characters made, there are overarching motifs that have us questioning, have us wondering about things, have us questioning, having us think about, well, why did they do that? Or why was this happening? And it's that sort of short-term and long-term capturing of your thoughts. That's what makes I feel like that's what makes a good movie good, and that's what makes a good book good. Because you think about good movies, you could just sit there and watch it, and it's entertaining.
Yep.
There's cool things happening on screen. It's easy to look at. It's cinematically appealing, and you're enjoying the movie. But then what separates that from you just forget about the next week versus a movie that we all continue to think about? It's those great shots, it's those great scenes, and then in conjunction with the underlying bigger, more existential questions and probing that through the dialogue and through the plot and the screenplay, way after the movie's over, you keep thinking about it.
This guy's got a brain on him.
No, not really. But I was just thinking that it lives rent-free long in your head long after, but it has to be entertaining and have the other aspect. It's both sides of the same coin, and that's, I guess, probably all art. That's what makes great art great. I don't know.
Yeah, I was going to say, because we talk about Red Rising all the time. Almost every day that we're together, we ended up making a reference, or something happens in our world. This is exactly what happened. And we, relate to it. Same thing with Dungeon Crawler Carl. We're constantly talking about the bigger issues, the bigger topics that the books are trying to get to. And that's, the longer I'm thinking and talking about the book, and my opinions on the books change. You've said some things that I didn't think about.
Yeah.
I've said some things you didn't think about, and the opinions on the book, we're constantly changing our opinions on what we read. And as readers, that's what is determining what's a good book, what's a good series. And
even talking about your opinion changing, my opinion, and this is not a joke, my opinion changing on the book, you have literally said, I'm like talking to you about something, and you're like, well, no, what about la la la? And I'm like, oh yeah, that's better. That makes more sense. And my opinion will change like that. Made me realize, oh, do that in real life too. Don't be married to any of my opinions or ideals. If you get better information, a better understanding, a better synopsis of why things happen, just change your opinion. You don't have to be steadfast just because you kind of already thought that. Doesn't mean you have to always continue to think that. Just think better thing if better thing come along.
Yeah, do more with less and simplify it. Life's not that complicated. We're all doing it for the first time. We're all reading these books for the first time. We keep talking about stuff. Just change as new stuff comes. Opinions change.
People who hate the Book Bro books that me and Kyle love, people who hate Red Rising and Dungeon Crawler, what do you guys hate? I'm for real. I'm genuinely curious because I've seen some reviews for the Red Rising series just shitting.
Dude.
And I'm like, bro, it made you mad like that?
Yeah.
I've read a lot of books. It's well written. The characters and the universe is consistent and well thought out, and the dialogue is good. The overall moral gray ambiguity of the characters and the decisions and the situations are phenomenal. I'm like,
taking down the powers that be, the oppressive, systemic, fucking top tier 1%, fighting the powers that be.
It's all good.
Yeah.
And then I see people shitting. I'm like, what did you not like? I don't know what they don't like.
Yeah.
But I actually am curious for those of you who hate Red Rising and the Book Bro books, because I have found how relatable I find them and how good I find them and how entertaining I find them. It seems to me like, oh, you could be like, yeah, I didn't really like it. It wasn't for me, which is how I felt about books.
Yeah.
I have never read a book that made me angry at it. Like, oh, this book sucks, blah, blah. I'm like, damn. Even books that I really did not like. I'm just like, oh yeah, that book I can understand. I easily see why people like it. It simply wasn't for me. I've seen reviews where Red Rising made them mad. And I'm like, that is a weird place to be.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't get it. If you hate Red Rising or the Book Talk Bros books in general,
you're probably never going to see this anyways if that's you.
Oh yeah, because we're 30 plus minutes into this. But let us know down below why, and then what are some books that you did like, because we do want to read and expand our perspectives, and we'll give them a shot.
This is a perfect call to arms. If you hate Book Talk Book Bros, Book Talk Bro books, tell me the books that you like. I will read it. Swear to God, I'll read it. I read 3 romance books. Well, whatever. I read 3 books that were outside of my normal wheelhouse. I read Song of Achilles. I read Till Summer Do Us Part, which is a little rom-com by Megan Quinn. And I read Verity by Colleen Hoover. All 3 books were strictly suggestions, books that I would have never gone out on my own and picked. And I do feel like my horizons have been expanded a little bit. Did I enjoy any of them? No. Would I reread any of them? Absolutely not. Would I recommend them to people though? No, still no. But
what about if somebody was like, this is what I'm looking for, like a romance type book, this is what I'm looking for. Have you ever read anything like, yeah, I didn't really enjoy this, but this is within that sphere of what you're looking for.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. There are situations in which I would recommend it. I'm being facetious. So I did read them. If you hate Book Talk Bro books, what would you read and what would you have us read? Because I will fucking read it. I'm not scared of shit. I want my mind to be expanded all over.
Yeah.
And blown out.
But you want the romance to be there too.
But I do like good romance. I'm a romantic at heart, Bubba. I'm a romantic. I didn't even know, dude. I'm reading Blood Over Brighton. I didn't even know that I was getting giddy, that I was like, oh my God, they're about to kiss. Just for a kiss.
Yeah.
I don't need insertion. I don't need penetration. I just need true. I need people to be true to themselves and who they are and what they want. It reminds me of when Jim broke up with Karen after their little interview in New York. He broke up with Karen and came back to Scranton. He interrupted the interview and said, hey, are you free for dinner tonight? And she said, yeah. And she's got tears. Be true to who you are and what you want. That's all I ask for. Yeah. And that book did it. You don't need pen assertion. Intitration. You don't need that to be true to who you are and what you want. But sometimes you do want that, so I don't know. All right, that's enough.
Anyways, we went kind of off topic, but these were the books, the Stormlight Archive and M.L. Wang, The Sword of Kaigen, that I enjoyed, you didn't necessarily enjoy. But they're not the authors, so you're not DNFing the authors, just
those books.
And you're not even opposed to reading Sword of Kaigen again.
Yeah, I might read.
As you're I'm
a more mature reader now. And I will say, this is Rhythm of War and Wind and Truth. I might finish. If I read every other book in the world that I want to read and then have run out of books, then I'll read those.
Yeah.
So that'll never happen.
You could. It's happened to me before where you go, like I put Brandon Sanderson down for a while, read some other stuff, and then I'll pick up. Like I read the first Mistborn trilogy. I haven't read the second Mistborn part, but eventually I will pick those books up, and I'll probably be like, oh yeah, Brandon Sanderson is good. It's just easy to get back into, slide into, and then you just kind of go with the flow. And maybe you pick up some of the standalone books that kind of expand upon the Cosmere, and that might help a little bit too.
Agreed.
But it is a lot, and there's a lot of books to read.
There's a lot of books. Dude, I saw a dude reviewing a classic. He was like, I just read Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, and here's my take. And I was like, oh, yeah, dude. There is so much classical literature that we should read. We should be familiar with this shit.
I just picked up two classics, The Picture of Dorian Gray and The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Yes.
Because I was like, yeah, I want to read some classic literature too.
And I see he's got Brave New World by Aldous Huxley, which is one of my favorite books of all time. The first time I read Brave New World, dude, we should do a classic literature, like books that pretty much every reader should be familiar with. We should break into that. Like we could even do half and half. Like you do some, I do some, and then we tell each other about them. But like 1984 by George Orwell, like, obviously that's a classic. I've never read it. We all have an understanding of like Orwellian nature of things or what 1984 was about, but I've never read it. But Animal Farm, Brave New World literally blew my mind. I read that book before I was even a reader. That book, I still think about that shit today. All right, anyways, we're going way too long.
Love you.
Love you, bye.